glad you're here. Well, today we are going to take a look at clouds. Yeah, way up in the sky. We're going to go on a magical journey through the sky and learn all we can about clouds. Have you ever looked up in the sky and wondered about those fluffy white shapes floating above us? Well, today we're going to discover what clouds are, how they form, and the different types of clouds that decorate our sky. We'll also get to do some really fun activities that help us understand these clouds better. So put on your imagination caps and let's start our adventure in the sky. We're going to explore clouds in a way that's easy to understand, and by the end of the videos today, you'll be able to spot the different kinds of clouds. And you ready for this? You can even make your own cloud at home in a jar. Oh yeah, we're going to show you how to do that. Okay, so what are clouds? Clouds are like these little fluffy pillows in the sky, but did you know that they're actually made of little tiny drops of water? When the sun heats up the water from rivers, lakes, or even your backyard puddles, that water turns into a special kind of mist that we like to call water vapor. Oh, there's that word, water vapor. Yeah, this vapor rises up into the sky, and as it gets cooler high up in the sky, the vapor sticks together and forms a cloud. Some clouds are big and puffy like cotton candy, while others are thin and wispy and look like little feathers. These different types of clouds are made from the same water vapor, but they look different depending on how high or low they are in the sky. Hey, you remember I told you that you are going to make your own cloud in a jar? I think it's time to get ready for that right now. Okay, so this is so cool. We're going to have fun, but first, I've got to tell you, for this one, you need a parent to help you out because we're going to be using warm water. Now, I've heated up water in my kettle right here, and we're going to be using that, but it's going to get hot, so make sure you have a parent with you, okay? So we're using warm water, a glass jar with a lid on it, some ice cubes, and some hairspray. So this is so simple, but make sure, safety first, you have your mom or dad help you. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this water, and I'm going to put it in the jar, and you're going to see already it's starting to get all misty there. Look at that, so quickly. Well, what happened was, remember I said the water, the little molecules or the parts of water will actually turn into a mist and go up in the air? Well, when they did that, they touched the side of the jar and they formed that little mist on the side of the jar, okay? So now we're gonna put hairspray in here, a lot of hairspray, 5 or 6 pumps of hairspray right there. I'm gonna put the top on, and then there's my jar. I'm gonna take ice and put it right on the top. Let's get this big clump of ice and put it right on the top. Now watch what happens. This is gonna be so cool. You can already see on the edges there when I first put my hairspray in there that the cloud's forming. See it right there at the top? The cloud's forming right there. And as it cools off from the top, you're gonna see it form even more. Now this is really cool because the cloud will come up and it will form inside the jar and it will just hang out in the air right there in the jar. You can see it right here on the edge. How cool is that? Water molecules that are coming up, and think about it. What else did I add here just besides water? Think about it. A change of temperature, that's right, because the water here is very hot. The ice cools it off from the top. Now, hot air likes to rise, and that pushes cold air down. As it mixes, that cold air and that hot air working together, as the warm water rises with the air and it hits the cold air, then those water droplets come together, and that's how that cloud is being formed right there. You can see it right at the top. How cool is that? All right, that was so cool. We learned how to make our very own cloud in a jar. Now look at the jar now. You can see that it looks different. The cloud's not there anymore. What do you think happened? Well, if you said because the temperature evened out, the mist came up, and then it turned back into water and went back into the jar, then you're right. But listen, there are different types of clouds. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about 3 types of clouds right now. 3 main clouds that you can see in the sky. There's cirrus, that's how it's spelled, and then cumulus, and there you go, and stratus. Okay, so here's what a cirrus cloud looks like. Yeah, now cirrus cloud is the high wispy ones that look like little feathers in the sky. They're way up in the sky, and they're usually a sign that the weather's going to be really nice. Okay, and oh, here's cumulus. Okay, cumulus clouds are the big fluffy clouds that look like giant cotton balls, and these are the clouds that you might see on a sunny day. Yeah, kind of off in the distance, but looking really, really big. And then there's stratus. Stratus clouds are the ones that cover the sky like a big gray blanket, and they sometimes make you feel gloomy. And a lot of times when you got stratus clouds, that's where you're going to have some bad weather. Not necessarily thunderstorms, but just gloomy weather. Now, each one of these clouds can tell us something about the weather, not just the stratus clouds. By looking at the clouds, you can guess if it's going to be sunny or rainy or even stormy. I've got an idea. Why don't we draw the different kinds of clouds? We'll draw them together, and then we'll see if we can guess which one we're drawing, okay? Okay, let's do that right now. This is going to be so cool because we're going to draw right here different types of clouds, and then we're going to try and guess what we're drawing, okay? So the first one's going to be real easy, okay? So if the sky was just like covered with a dark gray blanket like that, what do you think we would call that? I think it would be stratus. Yeah, and this is the one that's going to stay up there, and it's going to be like all just filled with rain cloud and like a big gray blanket over the sky, making it a pretty unhappy day because the sun won't shine at all. Okay, how about this? What do you think that might be? That might be a cumulus. And this cloud is going to be one that sits up in the sky like a big cotton ball. And sometimes they change shapes, and you can make shapes out of them, and you can imagine, oh, it looks like a ducky or something like that. Okay? Okay, one more. How about this? What do you think that might be if you got clouds like that? And sometimes these will move slowly across the sky. They won't just be hanging out there. And usually they're kind of they're kind of lower clouds, not really high up in the sky. We would call that you're right, a cirrus cloud. Okay, so we looked at 3 different kinds of clouds, and we drew them and we guessed them, and you can draw them too and show people. So what we looked at was a cirrus cloud that looks kind of like this, and then we looked at a cumulus cloud that looks a little bit like this, and then we looked at the stratus cloud, which is like that big blanket that hangs up there. Okay, so that was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. Let's move on to the next thing and see what else we're going to learn about clouds. This is so cool. Oh, that was so cool. We got to draw our very own pictures of clouds, and most of you guessed right. Yeah, that was really cool. Okay, now, here's a question. How in the world do clouds form? They form through a process just like we did here. I didn't really tell you what that is. When that water goes up into the air, that's called evaporation. And then the water droplets or the evaporated, the mist gets together, and we call that condensation. Oh, there's that word too. Okay, so when the warm air rises, it carries the water vapor with it, and as the air rises higher, it cools down, and the water vapor starts to stick together, turning back into tiny droplets of water, and these water droplets group together to form clouds. It's like when you breathe on a cold window and you see your breath turn into a foggy mist, only in the sky. I tell you what, a long time ago here in the lab, we actually made a model, and we called it a water cycle model to show how we do this. You want to see it? Okay. Now, you may have seen this before, but I tell you what, it is so much fun. I'm going to show you again right here. Take a look at the water cycle model. Okay, so we're talking about the water cycle, and we know that the water cycle involves 4 different activities. First of all, there's evaporation, and then it goes up, and there's condensation in the big bicycle wheel in the sky. That's not really a bicycle wheel, it's a cloud. Okay, and then there's precipitation where the water falls back down to earth again, and then there's collection where the water is collected in a river or a lake or a stream or something like that, and then back again to evaporation where it goes back up in the sky again, and it just keeps going round and round like that. Now here's something cool. How would you like to make a water cycle model at home that you can look at and watch yourself? This is going to be so cool. So here we go. We have a plastic bag. On this plastic bag, I am going to write out the water cycle model, okay? So I'm going to write evaporation here, okay? Evaporation. And this is where the water goes up like that, okay? And then we're going to write up here condensation, okay? And I'm going to draw dots all around it. Okay, right there, see condensation. And condensation is where the water collects in the clouds up there. And then we have precipitation. And draw lines going down. Like that. And that's to signify that it's raining there, okay? It's coming down into like down back to the earth again, all right? And then I'm going to write collection. And there's collection right there. So see, it goes kind of around in a circle, but in real life, it doesn't go in a circle. It just goes up and then comes right back down. And here's the thing. Sometimes water that evaporates here gets caught up in the clouds, and the wind blows the clouds someplace else, and the water from here might land someplace else, or water from someplace else might come back here, but it stays all in the earth. Now, how in the world does drawing on the bag make it work for us? I am so glad you asked. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a cup and we're going to put a little bit of water into it just like this. Okay? Half full. And then I'm going to open up my bag like this, and I'm going to gently put my cup right there inside, okay, so that it sits right behind where it says evaporation. Don't fall over, just like that, see? Okay, and you notice I have the bag at kind of an angle. Now I'm gonna seal the bag up, and then you could go someplace where there is a window, and you can tape it right to the window, okay? And then watch it go around and around. Watch it for a day. You wanna make sure that it's where there's a window where the sun can shine in. And I'll bet after a day, you're going to see condensation, and then you're going to see water running down, and you'll see water down in the bottom of the bag where it's collected. And it'll keep going round and round in circles. How cool would that be?